Welcome back everyone. For today's video we're talking about how to identify weaknesses in chess, weak squares in chess. As the first video had a great success, so I have more positions to show you and possibly slightly new concepts, but this is a continuation from the first video. So okay, let's start with this position. Yeah, feel free to pause the video at any time if you're having trouble finding the weakness. In this occasion, we have different concepts. So one, it can be called having holes in this position. The D pawn has been traded, right? The D pawn doesn't exist, and we have the open file with the queen and the rook stack up. There is also lack of space for black. Yeah, everything is here in these three files in this box, so they don't have a lot of space. And what is the hole in the position, if we can call it like that? Is this square, right? D6, because there is no pawns behind it. That is the definition of a weakness. There is nothing protecting that square. So, I mean, there is the queen, but there is no pawn protecting that square. Now, the execution is important here. The move that we have to find is c5. So we start with c5. Now we have one of the concepts we saw in the previous video, most advanced pawn, and now we are covering this file. So one of the things I would try to do with black is maybe challenge this pawn, right? That is very powerful, but that will be a mistake. That will be kind of a mistake because after b6, now you can try queens. You can play queen d6, try queens, and now we're much better. This pawn is hanging, and we have a lot of activity. They say, let's say they take this pawn with the knight, we can trade, and now we have we can also take the pawn, we can also take with the bishop. Everything is winning. So let's go back here. It's super weird. One of the best moves in the position for black is to play, oh wait a second, c5, g4. I will show you the variation with g4 later, but then one of the best moves for black after c5 is to play knight, wait a second, is here, knight f8. Yeah, is to play knight f8, which is like so weird. Why are we retreating? So okay, I guess the point is to reroute the knight, but you're wasting a whole like 3 moves just to do that. And now, yeah, we can do with the same idea. We can trade queens, and now we can take back with the rook, and yeah, this is completely winning, activating the bishop, and it's just much better. In practical terms, it's much easier to play for white. I kind of gave it away, but okay, so the other move that is also winning is playing g4. g4 attacking on the king side, but the continuation is not super clear, because now what you have to do is play not on this side of the board, which should be the plan, pushing the pawns. No, the plan is actually to attack this side of the board. So okay, let's go with top moves. Knight f8, again the same idea. Knight a4. Okay, now the point is to get my knights here, right? So let's say they play bishop e6. Okay, I can now trade queens. So it's a similar concept, but the execution is not clear. Okay, I'm gonna trade one of the most powerful pieces on the board, trading the queen. So okay, let's say they play rook ace to c8, and now I can trade queens. So, but yeah, this is strange because everything starts with g4. I'm starting with this pawn push on this side of the board, and now I start my attack over here. So that's a bit strange, not very human. So the most human move, I think, is c5. c5, we can understand this. Okay, maybe I can get an outpost here later. I'm gonna trade queens, and everything is fine. Okay, so this concept is very important in chess. In terms of pawn structure, we might see split pawns, right? These pawns are split for some reason, and ideally black would like to play b6, so this no longer will be a weakness and it will be protected by the rook. So for example, let's say that we play bishop c7. Now they have time to play b6, right? So here we have to pressure the opponent, and the point is, okay, I want to get my bishop here to b6, then I can win this pawn. So I don't want to give them that time. Okay. So here I would play a5. We can play a5. Let's say they play knight e5. Now we go for bishop e6, and yeah, there's no way they can protect this pawn. One of the most best move in the position is to trade this knight. Okay, yeah, we just take back, and there is no stopping these pawns. This is also an advanced pass pawn, so rook has to retreat. Bishop takes on c5, and yeah, everything is winning here with white. So always look for this structure and ways to punish it. So here we have, it's not ideal to have C and D, but now we're playing against B and C that are split. So yeah, look for ways to exploit this type of weakness. All right, here it's not about identification. I think we can identify, if we look at the pawn structure, these are split pawns, right? I think black wish this pawn was here on c5, and but what do we have to do to take advantage of this position? Trade the most active piece, which is the queen, right? So we go for a trade of queens. We can play queen d6. So after this happens, now we can take back with the knight and target this pawn. So here we look at the undefended and also split pawns. And so everything is winning here. So king f8, now the knight to d7 defending the central pawn, which makes sense. But now we can take the a pawn, and it's just completely winning. So yeah, everything is great here. We can also bring the king. And yeah, look for these positions where the opponent doesn't have a lot of moves. Maybe you can just trade the most opponent piece, most active piece of the opponent, and yeah, exploit these weaknesses, right, from the opponent. In this one, there is more nuance in the position, but let's lay out the plans and then exploit the potential weakness in this position. This is actually completely, it looks like a very drawish position, also very close with these pawn chains. But at the end, we have a clear plan with black. So with black, we want to trade the most active piece, the queen. So we can play queen b3. And if they take, now we can take back with the knight. And this is very active, right? They're going to have to make really awkward, all defensive moves. They have to move the rook here. We can take this bishop. And now we can even start an attack on this side of the board. But let's say they see that, okay, it's not going to be very convenient for me. If I am playing white, I don't want to trade queens. I want to do something else. What if I play queen e2? So queen e2, now I can play bishop a4. So bishop e3, king b8, and I have a plan here. King b8 to bring the rook to c7, and rook a to d1, queen c2, so rook d2. So here I am making at least progress in the position with black, but white is stuck defending with all the pieces very cramped, right? So okay, now what is the other alternative? If we don't really play queen b3, you might be thinking, why don't we put this knight here? It looks like it just makes sense. Yeah, it's also a very good move. It's actually the best move in the position. Now rook has to move. Okay, so this one comes with tempo. I love when you have that opportunity of making all the moves with tempo. So queen takes, bishop a4, and now this weakness is never going to go away with with white, right? They always have this hole in the position. So yeah, everything is not even like a huge advantage, but it's easier to play with with black. Now we also have similar plans. Maybe we can push g5 later. We can bring our kings, our rooks. We can move also the king away, so we get out of this problem. But yeah, everything is perfect. It's perfectly fine, and yeah, it's just easier to play for black. So I would like to show you an example where trading the queen is not going to be the most effective move in the position. So let's identify the weakest point. Okay, so here we can identify the open file. So this is also about open files, right? We have the queen and the rook occupying the c file. So one of the weakest points in the position is this square, right? C6 square, because now we can play b5. We ideally want to trade bishops so we can get a hold of this diagonal. And yeah, that's kind of the plan. Maybe we can play a4, b5, trading bishops, and yeah, we're much better. We're slightly better, not much better. So okay, we start here the move d4, knight d4. Okay, so if we're thinking, wait, if we just want to trade bishops, why don't we play knight d5? The problem is that the b4 pawn will be hanging at the end of this line. So let's say they take, they take here. Now we take back with the queen, and this pawn will be hanging. So here, yeah, here we actually want to play knight e4. Okay, so knight f6, getting this knight out of the way and putting this pressure, this alignment. Now b5, we go with this plan of b5. We want to put our knight here on this outpost. Bishop takes, king takes. Okay, rook d5, attacking and maybe trying to occupy this square. So knight c6. Okay, we hit the queen. Queen d7. Okay, so after queen d7, we have to take a decision. Some people just trade everything, and they go, okay, yeah, I should be winning or whatever. Yeah, you cannot really trade. The problem after trading is, okay, queen takes. This comes with check. Now you have to defend. We don't want to lose this diagonal. So they take, we take back. Now they can play a6. This comes with tempo, challenging our pawn, and it's a draw. So we're losing the advantage in this line. Now we have a better move. It will be queen c2. Queen c2, now they cannot trade, right? They wouldn't be able to trade everything. So, okay, let's go back to our line. Queen c2. Now, one of the best moves in the position is to play queen b7. Okay, they're still in this file, in this rank, but they're not in check anymore, right? They're not in danger anymore. So, okay, now we can consolidate this pawn. a4, protect them, b5. And yeah, it's gonna be hard to challenge it now. Let's say they play h6, e4, kicking the rook away, rook c5. Okay, this was kind of the annoying move we were looking for. We were expecting that. Queen d3, putting in everything on this open file. Rook c1. Okay, they trade pieces. a6. Yeah, we were also kind of expecting that. Now this is a hard move to see. Rook c4. Rook c4 with the whole idea of putting it here. Rook c4 with the idea of rook d4. And now, yeah, it's gonna be very difficult for black to defend this position. Now, let's say that we get queen c7. And now we can play rook d4, knight g4. And yeah, everything is like very, it's just very awkward to play for black. Right, this bishop, this knight can be kicked away. All right, but the whole point of this example was trading queens. Trading queens will be bad because they also can open this file later, right? They can open this file. Yeah, so that wouldn't be convenient for white. So in our last video, or in the first video of this series, we saw that the defenders of the king will be the knight on f3 if we're playing with white, the knight on f6 if we're playing black. The knight is here, really awkward. And the other defender of the king for black would be this, well, it's not even this knight, this bishop, right? It will be a dark square bishop here on g7. There is no bishop, so we should be much better. Here we also have a lot of influence of the bishop pair, right? Okay, so how do we execute this? To be honest, I didn't see it at first. Okay, so I would love to play h6, going for this mate, but now black has this solution, knight f5, and we get nothing. I mean, I guess we can take here, but yes, they just take back, and yes, we just lose the advantage. There has to be something better. So I didn't see this move. Feel free to pause the video. It's a rook move. So we have to move rook e5. So the rook e5, let's say that black doesn't do much. They just play something like, I don't know, rook b8, for example. Now the threat is to play queen takes on h7. That is the whole threat, because now we have this alignment of the two bishops. So okay, we sack the queen, they take back, and now we can play this very nasty rook takes on rook h5 is not taking, and this cannot happen because there is a pin. So king goes to g8, and this is mate. So the advantage is big. If we can have a mate in 3 or 4, then this is a huge advantage. What is the best move in the position? It's not to play rook b8. That was just a demonstration. Now, one of the best moves in the position is to play knight f5, which is okay. Now they're hanging their queen, but they're defending also. They're defending. Okay, here's some squares. Okay, we can just simply take this rook, and we have a similar threat, right, of taking this, taking this pawn. So they're gonna have to take this rook. Now we can take the queen. It's just completely winning. Yeah. So yeah, this is okay. Look at the defenders of the king. There is no bishop here. There is no knight here, and we have the bishop pair aligned. There has to be a way to exploit it. Okay, to wrap up this video, I would like to show you this beautiful example on how to exploit weaknesses and first identifying it, right? So here, let's look at the most advanced pawn, the c pawn. So there has to be something here, especially on this file. This one is hard to exploit, correct? Now also let's look at the lack of advantage, lack of space, not advantage, but lack of space white has. So they're playing pretty much in these three files. Now I will have to get an outpost with my knight. So, but it's just like, okay, if I move my knight here, then I will have to make a ton of moves to get to this space, right? I will have to go here. A second. I have to go here, there, over here. So it's too many moves. Doesn't make sense. Now, there is some shorter route, right? We can put our knight here or here to get to this square. Now, what if we just play knight c5? Wait, it's just hanging the knight? Yeah, but now I can recover the piece because this knight doesn't have a lot of space. So they cannot really make any moves that save the knight. They will have to give it up, at least for the pawn. And yeah, this is much better and it's easier to play. Now this is going to become a weakness. We can bring this rook. We can also target this pawn later. So yeah, and this is playing like 4 versus 5 on this side of the board. Yeah, it's much better. It's a slightly better for black. Alright guys, I hope you liked this video. Please comment, like and subscribe. Join the channel for less than $1. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.